New bike tech gets announced pretty much every day. Most of it looks good, some a little bit pants. But every now and again, something crops up that might be a bit of a game changer. This is the classified Powershift hub, and it might have the potential to kill off the Front Derailleur. Classified say that this has all the benefits of a 2x system, plus the benefits of a 1x system, and additional benefits that are unique to this, notably super fast shifting, even under full power. So firstly then, what actually is it? Well, the classified Powershift hub is a 2-speed hub gear, which sounds simple, but what they've done is unique. So firstly, the difference between the gears in the hub is effectively the same as shifting between front chainrings. So having a Powershift hub means that you can remove your front derailleur and second chainring. In 1 gear ratio, it's 1:1. So the hub doesn't change it. It is literally the gear ratio you see before you now. In the second gear, it's 1:0.7. So the hub reduces the gear ratio, meaning that instead of using a 50-tooth chainring, as you pedal, it actually feels like a 34-tooth chainring. Now you shift between those 2 gears wirelessly, but what is really clever is that unlike other hub gears, Powershift have designed this to allow you to use an 11-speed cassette on there, meaning you still get your rear derailleur, and instead of having just 2 gears, you've got 22 gears. Last year we teased you with some info on the classified system when it came fitted to a Ridley Canzo Fast that we were making a video about. Now, I've got another Ridley Canzo Fast, but this time it's all about classified. We've got the details, plus there's been a big new development, and that is that you can now fit the classified system to any bike that has a flat mount rear disc brake caliper, which opens it up to many, many more riders. So, let's see what it's all about. You might be wondering who Classified are. They are a new company after all. They're founded and based in Belgium, and actually the hubs are made there from locally sourced parts. It was released in the middle of 2020, but actually it's been in development for several years. Now to dive into the mechanics of it all, the real specifics of which, though, Classified, perhaps understandably, would like to keep classified. You shift wirelessly via Bluetooth. Now, Classified supply their aftermarket product with a satellite shifter, but here, the transmitter, which lives in the bar end plug, has been retrofitted to a Shimano Di2 shifter. The receiver is this, your smart through axle, which lasts about 3 months before it needs recharging, which you can do with a micro USB cable. Once the shift is triggered, there's a tiny 1-watt motor inside that activates the shift, but the actual shift itself is completed by the wheel rotating, which means there's no stress or strain on the motor, and that is what allows you to shift under full power. And this whole process, from start to finish, takes just 0.15 of a second, which is crazy quick. Now, inside your hub shell, you have a planetary gear system. So this is where you have a central sun gear, then smaller planetary gears that surround it, and that's all encased in a larger ring gear. And I know this because I Googled it. I also learned that it's really common. It's in loads of applications, not least car gearboxes. So it's perhaps not too surprising to learn that Classified's inventor has an automotive background. To create the room for that planetary gear system, Classified have a very neat, very simple solution. And that is that they've created their own free hub body, to which they then create their own cassettes to fit it. Now, these are things of beauty, machined out of one piece of steel. You can see, obviously, there's no spider in there because it fits directly on. You can get them in 11 speed only at the moment, in 1127, 1130, 1132, and 1134. No super wide ranges, of course, because you don't need them. The range comes from this, your hub gear. Interestingly, if you want multiple pairs of wheels, perhaps a road pair and then a second pair for gravel. You can buy them from the classified website, but you only need one gear system. It's designed to be swapped quickly and easily between wheels, just with a cassette lock ring tool and a chain whip. And actually you can use a normal back wheel in there as well. You just got to swap out the through axle. I mentioned in the introduction that there were some unique benefits potentially to this system, one of which is speed of shifting, which we've already touched on, and the other was shifting under full load. Now, classified say it's good up to about 1,000 watts, which is more than enough for me. You might have legs like Andre Greipel, in which case that might not quite be true, but I think even conservatively, that's probably about 3 times more than a well set up front derailleur. I'm not entirely sure exactly how much more, because as every bike rider knows, don't shift under full load, normally. I wanted to try and illustrate this point because it is absolutely bonkers. So I brought us to a really, really steep climb, and I'm going to try to shift whilst going up it. Are you ready? Andre Greipel legs. That's mad. That is absolutely mad. You probably didn't even see that. Ready? Yeah. The other big advantages that classified are touting are robustness and reliability. Now clearly this is a new product, so we've got to take them at their word, but apparently a standardised testing cycle in the lab is 40,000 shifts under a 300 watt load. Plus they also point to bike brands being confident enough to begin to spec it, so Ridley were the first, then Rose Bikes in Germany the second, Isaac in the Netherlands third, and more are going to follow suit. And you've got to say as well, simply when you look at it, there's no moving parts, there's no fragile derailleurs, everything is hidden away and sealed from the elements, from dust and from dirt. There's also no indexing, there's no fine tuning, there's no adjustments. It kind of has the air of being bomb-proof. And lastly, there's also Tom Boonen, living legend and one-man watt producing factory. Apparently they persuaded Tom to take a bike for a test ride, and he returned 30 minutes later wanting to invest in the company, or so legend has it. But there is a nice quote on their website from him. I tried to break them, it didn't work. Now, hopefully, most of you approach new tech with at least a hint of cynicism, and so I guess you've got a fair few questions right now, not least the weight. Hub gears are normally quite heavy. Classified say that this whole setup is about equivalent to a normal Di2 2x setup, although they say a bit depends on how heavy your previous rear hub was. If it was super light, this one might weigh a little bit more, but this is a bit like if you had a DT Swiss 240 on there. Now the reason that they're equivalent, despite the extra weight in the Powershift hub, is because you've obviously got rid of your front derailleur, you've got rid of your little chain ring, and then also the cassette on here is super light, not least because it's not got a spider on it. What about efficiency then? So in the 1-to-1 gear ratio, the hub doesn't change anything, so efficiency is the same as a normal one. In the 0.7 gear ratio, classified say that it's about 99.x% efficient. So a slight loss of what, 1.5 to 2 watts maybe at 300 watts. Now that needs to be put into some context, I think. In a normal 2x setup, the difference in efficiency between a 50-tooth chainring and a 30-40 chainring can be more than double that, because larger rings are more mechanically efficient. And even on a 1x setup, if you've got a drop from a 50-tooth chainring to a 40, that's potentially 2 to 3 watts as well. So any loss in efficiency in this smaller ratio is theoretically then more than offset by the fact that you're able to climb in a 50-tooth chainring as opposed to a 34. Now it's also worth pointing out about the chainline as well, because you do use a 1x specific chainring here, so that sits in between where your big ring and your little ring would have been, so you don't have any extremes at either end of the cassette. So that too should improve your efficiency. Now, one final point on this, Classified say that an efficiency test is part of their standard quality control on each hub before it leaves the factory. So clearly, it's a hot topic for them. One thing I noticed last summer when I rode that Canzo Fast was that because the gears are internal, you can't look down between your legs and instantly see whether you're in your big chainring or your little chainring. When you get used to it, it wouldn't be a problem because the big button on your shifter shifts into easier gears and the little button shifts into your harder gears. So you wouldn't mistakenly shift. But I mentioned it to Classified anyway, and they then told me about the fact that as well as Bluetooth, also broadcasts AM+, so you can connect it to your head unit. So I've got my gears displayed on my Wahoo. That's all the details then. How could you get your hands on this? As mentioned earlier, 3 bike brands are currently speccing Classified on their bikes, more apparently due to follow. And also, as mentioned earlier, you can buy that aftermarket kit, which ships with everything you need to get it set up on your bike. So you get a complete set of Classified carbon wheels, either road or gravel, deep or shallow. You also get the hub internals, of course, you get a cassette, you get the smart through axle, you get a satellite shifter, and you also get the adapters needed. The only thing you have to have is a 142mm rear spacing and a flat mount rear disc brake caliper. So that's pretty much every road disc bike these days and every gravel disc bike as well. Now, the reason it ships with a satellite shifter instead of requiring you to hardwire it into Di2 is that it means you can, of course, use a traditional cable rear mech. So this does not rely on a Di2 setup. It's not linked to Di2 at all. Now, the cost is €2,399. That is, like I say, for everything, including carbon wheels. In fact, the only thing you'd need is to invest in a 1x-specific narrow wide chainring. That's partly for chain retention and also for chain line. Now, you can buy it from a Classified dealer or you can buy it online from Classified's website, and then they will ship it to an authorized dealer for them to still fit it. Now, that's important at the moment, not because Classified say it's hard to fit, but more out of prudence so they can guarantee that early adopters are riding around with it set up correctly. So, what does the future hold for Classified? I don't know, but I'll be genuinely really interested to see what happens. For the record, I don't have anything against front derailleurs. When they're set up correctly, I think they work really well. But long-time viewers of GCN will know that I'm also a big fan of one-bike drivetrains, partly just from the aesthetics of them. I love the simplicity of it as well. But I know from hearing many of you that you feel constrained by the gear ratios, the fact that you have to have a wide ratio cassette and you've got big jumps between it. So the question is, would this setup solve that issue for you? Make sure you let us know in the comment section down below, and also get involved in the poll over on the GCN app. Finally, please give this video a big thumbs up if you've enjoyed it.